Hello and welcome back to another Six Sages Gaming Deck Spotlight. Today I have for you the Final Fantasy IX Tempo deck that I went 6-0 with at the Ziege Games Win-A-Box event that we had, and it is an absolute blast to play. If you are looking for the best Bahamut-based deck in the format, I'm not saying this is the exact list, but it is pretty damn close. I have never felt better casting a Bahamut. Sometimes a couple times a game if I have to be able to win. So this is the overview, and let's just dig right into it and figure out what makes this deck so great. So starting off, we're going to have the Final Fantasy IX package. I know a lot of people were underwhelmed by this when it was first previewed, and what really makes it all come together is Steiner. The fact that Steiner can tutor for any Final Fantasy IX character adds a lot to the deck, and often what I would do is play Steiner if I don't have Eiko already, find Eiko, play it, get Zidane, play the Zidane as a 2-drop now, and cycle through my deck. Again, Eiko is going to be our Final Fantasy IX tutor, and then Mog 9 is just a great card as well. It lets you draw a card. You're going to be playing Eiko anyway, so you might as well get the value off of it, and it is Leviathan on a backup. So keep in mind that it can break itself, and in this deck you're going to ramp up your backups very quickly, and you can bounce your opponent's problematic forward back to their hand. And already we are seeing this package, some decks are doing 3-2-2, 3-3-3 across. You feel free to mix with it a little bit, but we're already seeing this being splashed into the Wind Water deck, for example. Just these 3 cards are making such a huge impact on water-based decks. Next, we're going to talk about our attackers in the deck. And when we really put this together, it's kind of who is going to be our main attackers, most powerful cards. 2 of a Lann, absolutely no surprise here. It is still just a very difficult card for a lot of decks to interact with, and it can just get under them power-wise, so he is really unblockable. Quina is just a card that I know a lot of people kind of wrote off, but in this deck, it's often going to be a 10, 11, 12k attacking, and Eat is a lot better of a special effect than I really gave it credit for initially. So I think it's going to be a little bit more useful if you can fit, for example, Black Mage in your backups or some other effect that has a ping to it, so where you can really get the most value out of that special. Otherwise, just a great massive body to attack with. And then Rubicante. Now, yes, we know that activating all your opponent's forwards can be a drawback, but Barrier Shift, again, it is so easy to just ramp out your backups in this deck and have so many extra cards in hand, where very often it's easy to just leave up one fire backup, get to play that Barrier Shift, and have such a huge tempo swing in your favor because your opponent just try to Odin it or something to that effect. So this deck, again, is really all about gaining that card advantage and just grinding your opponent down. Of course, we always do need a plan B, and this one is a little bit of a controversial pick. I'm really trying not to just put Tidus in every single deck, but when we have these water-based decks that are able to flood the board and you just need another beefy body, it's absolutely where Tidus can shine. It is in this deck always a 9k, very easily to make a 10k by being able to flood the field, so it's really hard for me not to include it. Yes, the theory is when this deck is playing optimally, you should always be ahead, so Blitz Ace shouldn't really be that much of a game-winning factor, but simply put, it wins games. Your opponent has to respect it. And when you have a full board plus Minwu, it is a very difficult card for your opponent to remove. Zidane I want to put on its own slide simply because there's just a lot of conversation that needs to go around him. Now again, his condition is required that you have a category 9 forward, but with Steiner and Quina, it's very easy to do. And again, what I usually like to do is, if I've already played the Eiko, for example, is do a Steiner into finding the other Eiko to discard for cost, play the Zidane, and then draw a card. I haven't really used the other 2 effects all that often. Activating all your category 9 characters, not really relevant in this deck. Making your opponent discard a card can certainly be impactful, but ultimately you just want to filter through your deck, dig for that Bahamut, dig for that answer you need, and Zidane really does work when it comes to that. So a little bit of a bummer that he is a late card, so yes, we are playing 3. It can get stuck in your hand sometimes, but it's fine to chump block away. You'll see that we have other ways to either fling it at our opponent for value. We can use Belias to make it hopefully, kill an 8k and then block something later. So you can really get the mileage out of this card, and I really love it for that. Going to our more support cast, 3 of Warrior Light. Now this one is a very, very debated topic. This card is VV in a lot of other decks, and that is probably another video, but in my opinion, I just like Warrior of Light overall better, because with combination of, say, Selphie and Belias, you can potentially make it an 8k first strike, where VV is just never, no matter what you do, VV is not really attacking for value. And this is a deck that wants to grind out your opponent, make them block poorly where you can use Selphie or some kind of battle trick, and just have this incremental advantage go out throughout the game. So VV doesn't really fill that role, where Warrior Light can at least either trade up to a 4-drop, which is perfectly fine and you're more than happy to do that, or it's just a solid 2-drop 5k body that's able to stick around a little bit longer. Speaking of cards that help our other targets stick around a bit longer and get more mileage, is Red XIII. This was kind of a late addition into the deck for me. I'm still not completely sold on it, but it does fill 2 very important roles. Sometimes you can get stuck for a turn if you don't have a Selphie or you don't have a Belias, and you just need to pump something by 3k. It lets you get into point of damage. And not to go missed here is that it is any forward. So if you have a Lann on the field and your opponent has a 6k, for example, you can buff their 6,000 power forward to a 9k and then make Lann effectively unblockable for that turn now, thanks to Red XIII. Amarant. I really want to cut this card down to 1, but I'm always afraid of it going to damage. We have multiple tutors for it. It shouldn't be that hard to get, but it's a nice card to have for throwing away extra light Zidanes. I've won a game by him being able to fling himself. And again, it is just a 9k body, so he's not a bad attacker by any means. There has been some games where I was able to attack with him as a 9k, use a fairy to activate, and then fling him at something else to break it and get in that last point of damage. Yes, that's way more situational, but it still fits in the deck, and I think it's one of those plays that you just have to consider when you're trying to play to your outs. And then lastly, a Cloud of Darkness. Just a 1-of. I'm very tempted to just always play this card as a 1-of in a deck that can play both the more control slower route based on your hands, or if it's just an answer to Golbez. So if you see it early and it's not in the right matchup, you just discard it for the cost. But I think what Cloud of Darkness can do and help you getting back into a game if you fall behind, or maybe you don't have the most ideal forwards and you have a couple, a Zidane with another Zidane stuck in your hand or something, it can really just help reset the board in a pinch. And I think for the 1 card slot, you can really give it up for the card. Moving into our summons, 9-drop Bahamut. Again, really the all-star of this deck in combination with the Final Fantasy IX package, as I'm just going to call it again. Again, Steiner, Eiko, Mog. Bahamut deals 10,000 damage to 2 of your opponent's forwards, and it has never been easier in any deck to date that I have played to cast Bahamut, and that is hands down my favorite thing about this deck. Usually it feels really bad to cast Bahamut unless you're winning that game that turn, and it really helps to have all the extra card advantage. You get to 5 backups very easily, and there's multiple turns where I was able to ensure my victory by playing Bahamut, killing 2 of their forwards, using the Mog backup to Leviathan, effectively the last one, and then just win out of nowhere. So all around amazing card. Belias, we did upgrade to 3. The original list had 2. It's just too important. I've been it's an interesting card to play as a 2-of. I think that's right in most decks, but for how important it is to make a 7,000 power forward at 8k and have that first strike and haste, not to be missed. It won me a game being able to give something haste out of nowhere. And the fact that it draws you a card really makes this an all-around powerhouse summon for this deck. As a joke, I wanted to call the deck slots because all your relevant forwards are 7k power, so often it's 777 on the field. And again, Belias really helps come through for that little extra pump that the deck badly needs. And then lastly, Fairy. Again, we mentioned that it works with Amarant. It helps you draw a card. It can activate something in a pinch if you're going against ice and they have maybe an attack that they think is safe, and you can punish them that way. Not to be missed at all again with either Tidus. Any of our 9Ks or bigger, especially with Quina, is that you get to Fairy it out of nowhere. You're taking out their best forward, and it feels great because, again, it's going to often be 9, 10, 11, 12k power forward that they just have a very tough time dealing with. And then to wrap it up, we have the last of our backups. Summoner, a unique pick, but it actually won me a number of games because there was a lot of Warrior Light plus Maria, which means, you have to deal 11,000 damage to it. So I was able to twice, actually. It won me in Swiss, and it won me the finals match. Is I was able to play Bahamut and break Summoner to deal that 11,000 damage. And, you know, my opponent had Selphie, thought he was going to be okay in another instance, and that was before he had Maria, and I just had the answer for it. So Summoner, all around great card, and again, just because we need to be able to get up that little extra bit of damage. Red Mage, that should be a 3 of, sorry about that typo. Amazing card. I think we can all agree it's one of the best backups in red. It's a solid reason to play red. Always play a 3 of because you always want to see it. Amazing card. Selphie. This is a card that I just slept on, I guess. I threw it in the deck on a whim, and I didn't realize how impactful it would be. Again, making any of your 7Ks threatening up to be a 9K is amazing. Multiple times, you know, it's my opponent goes, okay, I have to block. I'll make you use it, and I'll lose my guy. So it has that ability to make all your 7 drops into relevant attackers. And then lastly, we have Reynn. Great EX burst, makes Lann just a powerhouse in attacking, and again, because he can't be blocked by power higher than him, so their 7K will block your 7K. Then you go, okay, before damage, I'm gonna buff it by 1,000. My guy lives, yours dies, and now Lann's gonna get through for a point of damage on the next turn. If you can fit the package into your deck, in most fire decks, I would very strongly consider 2 Lann and 1 Reynn. So that is all that I have for the deck spotlight this time. I hope you guys will try this out. There's been a lot of talk about either the Final Fantasy IX tempo deck, which this one is more focused on, versus the Final Fantasy IX more mid-range kind of grindy deck with starter Tifa in a Knights package, which was very interesting to see out of the UK. So props to Jamie and his crew for, you know, shooting me that list and being very interesting. But I think it's going to be ultimately up to you, the viewers, to decide which deck is better for you. Do you like the more plan out your turns, heavy thinking tempo build, or do you want to do the more aggressive, play the Knights, have these big, beefy, mid-rangey kind of guys, and grind out that game that way? So let us know what you think. Which deck would you like to see in a duel series possibly coming up? Well, we're going to revisit this in Opus 3 with all the support that Final Fantasy IX is getting. I think that this is still going to be a very fine deck going forward. Again, I've just been doing very well with it, so I again encourage you guys to give it a try when you can, and I cannot wait to see what Opus 3 brings outside of Garnet and Vivi, the legendary Vivi, which I think will be great as like a 1 of in the deck when we can tutor for it and really get the tempo swing on our opponent. So that's all we have for guys for this video. Thank you so much for watching. If you enjoyed it, make sure to drop us a comment down below, hit that like button, and subscribe for more Final Fantasy trading card game content in the very near future, and we'd love to hear your thoughts on the deck. So thank you very much for watching, and we'll catch you on the next 6 Sages Gaming Deck Spotlight. Have a good one. This video made possible by the patron support of viewers such as yourself. Thank you to our honorary sages.